The house was too quiet, a silence that felt heavy and expensive. Ethan could hear the faint, rhythmic rattle from the upstairs bedroom, a sound like a trapped animal testing its cage. He stood in the grand, empty kitchen of the lake house, his knuckles white on the marble countertop. Outside, the water was a sheet of black glass under the Montana night sky, dotted with the distant, cold lights of other secluded properties. No one would come. No one ever did. He had done it. He had actually done it. The fear was a cold, slithering thing in his gut now, replacing the white-hot obsession that had propelled him this far. Liam was upstairs, bound to the custom-made bed, the soft leather restraints biting into his wrists. The man was a storm contained, all coiled strength and silent, furious tension. Ethan had fantasized about this moment for months, about having the untouchable graduate student entirely to himself. But now, faced with the reality, he felt small and sick. Liam wasn't a fantasy. He was a person, and the betrayal in the air was so thick Ethan could taste it, metallic and sour. He had to let him go, before this went any further, before he truly became the monster he was pretending to be. Taking a shaky breath, Ethan climbed the spiral staircase, each step an effort. The master bedroom door was ajar. He pushed it open. Liam lay exactly as he'd left him, the blindfold still in place, his broad chest rising and falling with controlled, angry breaths. The muscles in his arms stood out in sharp relief against the dark sheets as he strained against the bindings. Ethan approached the bed, his hands trembling. He just needed to remove the blindfold, explain it was a horrible joke, a mistake, and then his fingers fumbled. The silk slipped. It wasn't meant to come off. Not yet. But it did, catching on the sweat-damp hair at Liam's temple and falling away. Ethan froze. Liam's eyes, usually a calm, focused gray, snapped open. They weren't drowsy from the drug anymore. They were clear, sharp, and utterly disbelieving. The anger that had been radiating from him seemed to solidify, then shatter into pure shock. He stared, uncomprehending. Ethan felt the blood drain from his own face. A frantic, skittering energy took hold of him. He paced the length of the Persian rug, running a hand through his hair. "I was gonna let you go," he muttered, the words tumbling out too fast. I swear. But you saw. Why did you have to see?" The plan, fragile as it was, lay in ruins at his feet. Letting Liam walk out now wasn't an option. Not with that look of shattered recognition in his eyes. Before the kidnapping, Ethan had been careful. Around Liam, he was all practiced charm and attentive smiles. Liam, ever the responsible mentor, had once laughed that soft, exasperated laugh and told him he was too trusting, that the world would eat someone that naive alive. The irony was a bitter pill. He'd been anything but naive. He'd been plotting. He wasn't afraid of the police. His family's money and influence were a gilded shield against real consequences. A scandal, maybe. His father's cold disappointment. His half-brother's smug fury. But jail? Unlikely. No, the true punishment, the one that tightened his chest until he couldn't breathe, was the certainty that Liam would look at him with nothing but disgust. He could withstand hatred. He could not withstand being erased from Liam's vision entirely. The thought was a physical ache. "How could it be you?" Liam's voice was low, scraped raw. He was trying to make the pieces fit, the helpful, bright-eyed underclassman with the man who had drugged him and chained him to a bed. Ethan stopped pacing. The fear curdled, transforming into something desperate and reckless. If he was already damned, then why hold back? He climbed onto the bed, straddling Liam's hips, feeling the solid warmth of him through the fine cotton sheets. Liam jerked beneath him, a muffled sound of protest caught in his throat. Ethan leaned down, his hands cradling Liam's face, his touch betraying his nerves. "Liam, I'm in love with you." The disappointment in Liam's eyes was a deeper wound than any anger. "You call this love? And you know I'm seeing someone." Something snapped inside Ethan. How dare he mention someone else now? Here? A hot, irrational fury surged, and before he could think, his hand flew out. The slap cracked through the quiet room. Liam's head whipped to the side, a red mark blossoming on his cheekbone. "What's wrong with me?" Ethan shouted, the words torn from him. "I'm offering you everything. You have nothing. Who is it? Tell me who and I'll make them disappear." He immediately recoiled from his own venom, his fingers feathering over the heated skin he'd just struck.
I'm sorry. Go, I'm sorry.
"I don't know what's wrong with me." Liam was just watching him now, his gaze analytical and distant, as if studying a dangerous, unfamiliar species. The detachment was worse than the slap. Ethan leaned in to kiss him, a frantic, claiming gesture, but Liam turned his face away. Ethan pursued, his hands tearing at the simple white button-down, palms sliding over the hard planes of Liam's stomach. The feel of him, so real and solid, sent a jolt of pure wanting through Ethan's core. "The person you like might not even want you," Ethan whispered, his voice rough. "I don't need promises. Just let me." The shift was subtle. Liam's body, which had been all resistant tension, went perfectly still. "Then Ethan, don't do this. Don't degrade yourself like this." Ethan barked out a laugh, sharp and humorless. "Degrade myself?" He gripped Liam's jaw, forcing his head back. "You're the one who's not clean, are you? Who else has touched you?" The jealousy was a wildfire, consuming all reason. Liam's expression closed off completely. "That's none of your business." The response was a match to gasoline. Blind with rage, Ethan reached for the small vial on the nightstand. He forced a pill past Liam's lips, holding his mouth shut until he swallowed. He then slid off the bed and retreated to a leather armchair in the corner, lighting a cigarette with unsteady hands. He watched, detached, as the chemical fire took hold. He watched the proud composure melt into frantic need, the gray eyes growing dark and hungry. A twisted sense of victory bloomed in Ethan's chest. Finally, Liam was looking at him with a focus that mirrored his own obsession. The lake house was a relic from a childhood he preferred to forget, a gift from a father already moving on to a new family. This development on Flathead Lake had promised exclusivity but delivered only isolation, which now served his purposes perfectly. The chains rattled again, louder, more insistent as Ethan finally approached. He traced a finger down Liam's sweat-slicked chest. "Get away from me," Liam growled, the command strained, his body betraying his words. Ethan merely shook his head, a strange calm settling over him. He'd passed a point of no return. The initial panic was gone, replaced by a weary, defiant resolve. He was the villain in this story. He might as well play the part. Later, he brought food. He adjusted the bed so Liam could sit up. The scene was one of intimate ruin. The ruined shirt, the disheveled hair, the proud man rendered dependent. Liam refused to eat, his jaw set in a hard line. Ethan paced, the cigarette a glowing ember in the dim room. He wasn't a smoker, not really, but the act felt appropriate, a rebellion against the polished image he'd once presented. He climbed back onto the bed, ignoring the cold glare. An ash fell, searing a tiny mark on Liam's skin. Ethan brushed it away, a mockery of concern in his eyes. "Your pride won't help you here," Ethan murmured, his hands skating over the defined muscles of Liam's abdomen. "You can't control this. Maybe you should try being nice to me." He blew a stream of smoke into Liam's face. "Am I not beautiful?" he asked, genuinely curious. Liam's eyes opened, meeting his. The look wasn't one of desire, but of deep, unsettling assessment. It made Ethan's breath catch. He kissed him again, a series of desperate, biting presses. "I've never wanted anyone else. I'm not myself anymore. I'm just yours. Isn't that thrilling? Say my name, Liam." "Ethan." His name was a gravelly sigh, devoid of warmth. "How can you expect me to accept anything from you now?" Ethan's brief hope shattered. He grabbed a fistful of Liam's hair, yanking his head back. "Don't test me." He stormed out, leaving Liam alone. He spent hours in the great room below, drinking expensive bourbon straight from the bottle, the alcohol doing nothing to numb the churning mess inside him. On the security monitor, he watched. He saw the exact moment physiological need overrode stubbornness. The proud mask finally cracked, revealing raw human desperation. Ethan returned to the bedroom. Liam's wrists were raw. "I need to use the bathroom," he ground out, the admission costing him dearly. Ethan leaned over him, shaking his head slowly. "Ask me nicely." "Ethan, this isn't a game. Humiliate me if you must, but not like this. Then kiss me. One kiss and I'll unbuckle you." Liam just stared, his eyes like flint. Ethan sighed, pointing to a small, dark dome in the corner of the ceiling. "See that? It's recording everything. Every struggle, every moment. Imagine if I sent that to everyone you know. Would you stay with me then?" The color drained from Liam's face. "You're insane." "Probably," Ethan agreed, a faint smile touching his lips. He finally released the wrist restraints. The ankle cuffs remained, with enough chain to reach the adjoining bathroom. The instant his hands were free, Liam moved. It was shockingly fast. He rolled, his weight pinning Ethan down, a strong hand closing around Ethan's throat. Ethan gasped, tears springing to his eyes from the pressure and the shock. The pressure eased slightly. Liam's other hand came up to feel Ethan's forehead. "You're burning up." Ethan gazed up at him, a pathetic, feverish smile on his face. "Am I? Maybe I'll die. Would you care?" A storm of conflicting emotions passed through Liam's eyes. The hand tightened again. "Let me go. Now. Or what? You'll kill me?" Ethan shifted beneath him, his voice a whisper. "Go ahead. I feel terrible anyway." Liam released him with a sound of disgust. "See a doctor." He stood, moving with stiff dignity toward the bathroom, the chain clinking behind him. Ethan lay on the rumpled sheets, touching his sore throat. He called out, his voice hoarse, "There's a camera in there too, you know." It was a lie, but the power to unsettle was its own kind of narcotic. The stalemate stretched. Ethan used Liam's phone to send vague, reassuring texts to concerned friends and professors, deleting any that felt too familiar. The digital leash was almost as satisfying as the physical one. He grew paranoid, moving them to a sleek, high-rise apartment in downtown Seattle. The world outside the floor-to-ceiling windows was a panorama of rain-slicked streets and distant ferries. But inside, their universe remained a single locked room. One evening, he returned to the apartment after a forced family dinner to find Liam sitting on the edge of the bed. The man looked tired, but his gaze was clear and calculating. "Ethan," he said, his voice low, "is this about love, or is it about punishment?" Ethan crawled onto the bed, burying his face against Liam's chest. "It's love," he mumbled. He felt Liam's hand come up, not to embrace him, but to turn his face, examining the faint, yellowing bruise on his cheek from an earlier confrontation with his half-brother, Asher. "Who did this?" "Asher." Liam didn't ask for details. His thumb brushed the edge of the bruise, his touch clinical. "Put some ice on it." "I don't want to look at it." The small, reluctant care in the gesture was a spark in the darkness. Ethan clung to it. "You're starting to like me," he ventured. Liam's expression was unreadable. "Do you think I could care for someone who cages me?" He paused, his voice dropping. "I'm a man, Ethan. My body reacts. That's biology, not affection. You have a month. Then this ends." The ultimatum was a cold shock. The next day, Ethan left him without food, a petty, useless retaliation. When he returned with takeout, Liam ate in silence, then meticulously cleaned up, his movements precise and controlled. He was enduring, and his endurance was a mirror showing Ethan how small his own tyranny was. "I'll let you go," Ethan announced suddenly, watching him. Liam froze. Ethan walked over, tracing Liam's lower lip with his thumb. "If you do one thing for me," with this Revulsion flashed in Liam's eyes, quickly banked. No, Ethan just smiled. Think about it. The phone alert came when he was in a lecture hall, the buzz violent in his pocket. Security breach. He pulled up the feed from the apartment's cameras just in time to see Asher, his face a mask of cold fury, kick in the reinforced door. Then the screen went black. Panic, pure and undiluted, seized him. He raced across the city, his mind conjuring terrible images. Asher dragging Liam away, lawyers, exposure, but worse, Liam being taken from him by someone else. He burst into the apartment. The place was trashed. Asher stood amidst the wreckage, his tailored suit jacket discarded. You little fool, Asher hissed, turning. You managed to kidnap someone with more connections and sharper teeth than you'll ever have. Ethan didn't hear. He launched himself at his brother, a fury born of fear and long-brewing resentment. Where is he? What did you do to him? Asher, bigger and stronger, subdued him easily, shoving him onto the demolished sofa. He's gone. And it was a neatly timed exit. What the hell were you thinking, getting involved with someone like that? The fight drained out of Ethan. Gone. Liam was just gone. Asher ranted about liability and family reputation, but the words were noise. The cage was empty, and Ethan was the one left trapped inside it. Weeks passed. Liam vanished. His number was disconnected. He wasn't on campus. The silence was absolute. Ethan drifted, a ghost in his own life. One night, drowning his confusion in a dimly lit Capitol Hill bar, a hand with too much familiarity grabbed his arm. He was being led toward the door by a smirking acquaintance when another hand intercepted, pulling him back into a shadowed alcove. He stumbled against a solid chest, and the scent, clean soap and cold air, made him go limp. Liam, he breathed, looking up at the sharp line of a jaw under a pulled-low baseball cap. Liam said nothing, just steered him out into the rain and into a waiting car. They drove to a modern loft in a converted warehouse district. The moment the door closed, Ethan tried to kiss him, to reclaim what he'd lost. Liam held him off, a hand firm on his chest, his eyes searching Ethan's face in the low light. Then, without a word, he dragged him to the shower, scrubbing the smell of the bar away with impersonal efficiency, before pushing him onto a large, unmade bed. Liam loomed over him, his hands finding Ethan's throat again, but this time the pressure was different. Possessive, not punitive. His eyes were dark. Do you even know what love is, Ethan? Or is this just about ownership? Ethan shook his head, tears spilling over. It's you. It's only ever been you. Liam lowered his head, his mouth close to Ethan's ear. Then prove it. The morning sun found Ethan alone, aching and spent. A text glowed on his phone. Food in the kitchen. Go home. A second followed. Don't be difficult. He stared at the messages, a familiar, hot anger rising, only to be doused by a deeper, more confusing need. He ate the breakfast left for him. He obeyed. This became their new pattern. Liam was a ghost that materialized, often at night, pulling Ethan from a crowd or simply appearing behind him on a quiet street. Their encounters were intense, wordless battles that left Ethan physically ravaged and emotionally unmoored. He was constantly off balance, desperate for a sign, a confirmation. Who is it you really want? He demanded one night in Liam's loft, after a particularly volatile silence. Just tell me. I need to know. Liam pushed him against the exposed brick wall, his body caging Ethan in. He didn't answer, just looked at him with that same inscrutable, heavy-lidded gaze. Ethan slapped him, a weak, frustrated gesture. You have to want me. You have to. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched Liam's lips. You tell me. Who do you think it is? The realization didn't dawn. It crashed over him. The carefully orchestrated kidnapping, the too easy escape, the way Liam had always been there, even when he seemed distant. The control had never been Ethan's. He'd been living inside Liam's design from the beginning. Later, wrapped in a blanket on the sofa, Ethan watched smoke curl from his cigarette. Liam emerged from the shower, towel slung low on his hips, and plucked it from his fingers, stubbing it out. "I don't like it. Do it again and we're done." Ethan grinned, a flash of his old defiance. "That's harsh." Liam didn't smile back. He sat on the edge of the bed, the muscles of his back and shoulders speaking of a latent, disciplined power. Ethan went to him, settling in his lap. "Do you hate me?" he asked quietly. Liam's hand settled on his waist, warm and firm. "No. Could have fooled me. I don't regret my choices," Liam said, his voice low and final. "Including you. But if you step out of line, if you even look at someone else, I will end this. I'll find a way to make you disappear into me so completely you'll forget your own name. Do you understand? Your turn. How deep does this obsession of yours really go?" Ethan leaned into his touch, the threat a perverse comfort. "You feel it. I'm already gone." Years later, established in his own right in the film industry, Ethan still found himself the target of ambitious admirers. Liam's responses were swift and merciless, a clear demarcation of territory that Ethan secretly reveled in. In their bed, in the quiet after, Ethan nuzzled against his shoulder. "You knew, didn't you? From the start. You wanted this." Liam's hand came up to cup his face, his thumb stroking his cheekbone. In the dark, his eyes were unreadable pools. "Yes, you're the real monster. You played the long game. Maybe," Liam conceded, his voice a deep rumble. "Love me properly, or I will make that lake house look like a vacation. I will be the only world you know." Ethan shivered, pressing closer. "You're too much sometimes." Liam's hand gentled. He sighed, the sound almost lost. "Fine. Then I'll just love you instead. I'll love you enough for both of us."